Hey, the cough came in useful for something. Yeah, what we have here is a East German Trabant 601. Some people may say, well, what the hell's one of those? And, I'll give you a little bit of history behind it. In East Germany, they built these cars, and the Trabant, in some form or another, was in continuous production from 1957 until 1991. However, being as that East Germany at the time was a communist state, the Trabant was a no frills, vehicle that you could have. Basically anybody who lived in East Germany could have one if they wanted one, except that you'd have to show why you wanted one or why you needed one. And if it was deemed that you needed one, Glorious State would allow you to purchase one. You could try and buy one second hand, I suppose, but I don't think the local branch of the Stasi would be terribly happy and would have a look into the background of why you have a car when the state has decided that you don't need one, and how you acquired it, and you probably get called in for questioning, which may or may not result in you ever being seen again. The Trabant, over its lifetime, there were four different models of the car, and it was available in 3 body styles. Now, the 4 models, there was the original model, which was known as the P50, which was just the very first one. They only made that kind of model for a couple of years. Then they made the P500, which again was only made for a few years. Then they switched to the Model 600, which was, that went on for a bit longer than the P50 and the P500. And then then they went to the 601, which is kind of representative of this particular toy car, and that was the one that kind of was the most popular and was in production for the longest. They did switch again, and they had a version called the Trabant 1.1, which was only produced in fairly small numbers between 1990 and 1991. Basically what happened was, with that one, the 1.1, was they finally switched out the engine that had been in there from the P601 until they switched it out for a Volkswagen engine. But by that time, in 1991, East Germans had kind of had a look around, West Germany, and seen that, they could get better cars, much better cars, and basically by that point, sticking a Volkswagen engine in a Trabi was it was flogging a dead horse, basically. So the Trabi ceased production in 1991. There was about 3 million of them made in between, the 57 and 1991. Like I say, various marks. The 3 body styles that you get would be this style, which was the 2-door sedan. There was a 3-door estate car, which basically had a longer back, and instead of just having a boot on the back, it actually had a door so that you could open the back up and load things into the back of it. And then there was a kind of military version which had no doors and was sort of roughly used equivalent to the World War II era Volkswagen Kubelwagen. I don't know how successful that particular version was, but the Trabant was more or less the East German equivalent of the Volkswagen Beetle, because it was a universal car. It was cheap to produce, and it was quite reliable, and but because it was a utilitarian car, basically, it was designed to get you from A to B. It did lack quite a lot of features that we sort of come to take for granted. For example, filling the car up wasn't a case of just pulling up to a petrol station, opening the fuel cap, sticking the thing in, filling it with petrol, and the Trabant required you to open the bonnet and pour a mixture of petrol and engine oil. You had to mix petrol and engine oil together and then pour it directly into the fuel reservoir, because of the type of engine that it used, which I believe is like a 2-stroke engine, something like that. I'm not quite sure. On top of that, the car had it just had basic seats. The idea behind the thing was, the design was, you sat in it and went from A to B. Whether you did that in comfort was, that wasn't even a consideration. Other details were that some models produced during the late 70s and for most of the 80s lacked a tachometer, so you didn't know how many miles you'd driven. Also lacked indicators, so that when you came to a corner and there were other people there, you couldn't really tell them which direction you were planning on going in. There's a lot of other stuff missing. The suspension wasn't particularly comfortable to ride either. It was a piece of shit, basically. It was a piece of shit, but it was a reliable piece of shit because these would start. It could be freezing cold temperatures, and these would start. You might have to give it a bit of encouragement. For example, there's one scene in, I think it's GoldenEye, where Bond meets an American CIA agent in Russia, and the agent is messing around with a Trabant, and after fiddling about with it for a while with some tools, he just gives the starter motor a whack and the car starts. And yes, you could do that. It was reliable, but that's about all it had going for it. Like I say, once the Berlin Wall came down and communism stopped being a thing because people were sick of it, the Trabant died a death, because why mess around buying one of these when you could get a Volkswagen Polo or a Volkswagen Golf or something, or a Ford or an Opel or something like that. So they quickly fell out of favour and disappeared. The Trabant, although the Trabant was an East German produced vehicle, they did show up in other countries in the communist bloc. There was some found, there's some turned up in places like Russia, Poland, things like that. But these days, you'll find a Trabant, but you'll only really find it in two outcomes. One is a version that has been sort of kept in working condition and stuff like that. Well, I'll say two versions. You'll find three basically. You'll get a version where people have looked after it and kept it going and everything like that, kept it maintained and just normal. The other version is where people have kind of souped them up a little bit, essentially ripping out the crappy engine that was in it and replacing it with something with a little bit more pep, usually decorating the cars and putting body kits and things like that on it. And the third version is you'll usually find them as rusted out piles of scrap. They are collector's items now, obviously, because in the real world, although 3 million of them were produced, there's not many of them left because they've either been crushed or smashed up or cannibalized for parts, or people have done things to them to change them to basically just being a Trabant in name only. So yeah, they do command quite high prices if you do find Trabants, even ones that are a bit knackered, that need extensive work on. They'll still cost you they'll cost you a bit more than what you would think. But yeah, this particular one is say Maisto, I believe. Is it Maisto? Yeah, Maisto Trabant, made in China. There's literally nothing else marked on the bottom. Kind of goes in with the communist ethic there. Very minimal stuff. So yeah, I wanted to do a Trabant because it just seems to be one of the ones that people tend not to do or talk about much. So here's a Trabant. What am I going to do with it? Well, at the minute I haven't decided. I could go you know, the one of three ways. You know, I could just do it back up. I mean, it does have some paint scratches and stuff on it. I don't particularly like the colour, so you know, I could just restore it back to, you know, looking factory fresh. I could hike it up a little bit, or I could turn it into a rust bucket. I think, well, now I'm sat here thinking, and I'm trying to decide what to do as I'm recording this. I think what I will do is I will do a half restoration, half custom, you know, a custom resto, and I will put in rust damage and stuff like that. But I'll try and keep it looking as nice as possible, if you know what I mean. It's as though somebody, you know, let's say it's 1988 and somebody's had a Trabant for a while, and yes, it's starting to die on them and it's starting to rot away, but they do keep it nice and, you know, nice and clean, and you know, try and keep it as best they can for, you know, going to work at the factory or the coal mine or wherever it is the state tells them that they have to work. Not going to be fast enough to outrun the Stasi, but, you know, or the East German border guards, but, you know, you're not going to be making a great escape into West Germany in one anytime soon, but you know, we'll see. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So we'll just go through the process, strip it down, have a look at, you know, strip it down, take the paint and everything off it, have a look at what we've got to deal with, and then we'll start the main work then. So when we come back, it'll all be stripped down and ready for me to start work on. Let's see how we get on.
Several days later.
And we return, and here we are, stripped. The body, nothing to speak of. There is some slight discoloration in the metal, but who cares. The body casting is a bit dodgy as well, so I'm going to have to clean up under here. Doubt you can see it, but under the, oh, you probably can there. Just where the front, you know, stump is, there's some bits there that need to be tidied off, because I don't know whether that's like injection from the injection moulding or whatever, but it's just horrible and I don't like it. But window glass, fine. Oh, got the right gas. Right, and here's the base. When I was taking the car apart, there was a slight mishap with the base, and the front bumper and everything broke off because the mushroom on the front of the car just didn't want to give it up, so the front bumper broke off when I tried to remove the base. I managed to glue it back together, thankfully, and I was quite surprised to find that the wheels were held in place with a sort of spring tab, except the spring tab's made of plastic, not metal. But yeah, the wheels were held in place with the spring tab, and the interior has like a little sort of grippy post things somewhere here up the back for it to, you know, fit securely into, so it doesn't rattle about or anything like that, or, you know, get in the way when you're trying to do anything. So yeah, that sort of thing. I've replaced the wheels with the wheels off something else, can't remember, it was Hot Wheels I think it was, because the original wheels were crap, and B, even though I'm going to rough this car up a little bit, I still want it to look like, you know, the owner looks after it, so, you know, they've sorted out some new wheels, and they're not staying gold because I just don't like gold. I think it's a horrible colour. So yeah, roughing it up will be included taking my knot Dremel to the wheel wells and just putting like a bit of a, you know, round there where it's rusted away, along, as well as along down the bottom, maybe a little bit up the side of the doors as well. I mean, these Trabants were not exactly made out of the best material, and if not looked after, they would rust up to buggery. A bit like a lot of the cars that British Leyland made in the kind of you know, sort of late 70s to early 80s. You know, they bit of rain on them, and if you didn't you know, keep them dry and well maintained, they just rusted away to buggery, which is unfortunately why there aren't that many Rover ST1s on the road anymore. So yeah, I'm going to do all that off camera. I'm going to try and make this a quick one. Well, quick video. Probably won't, cause, you know, it's me. When we come back, let's see if I can do a you know, a magic reveal sort of thing. So when we come back, all this lot will be sorted, painted, and ready to put back together.
Many months later.
And here we go. Yeah. So yeah, there's 3 pieces. Obviously the body shell, the chassis, and I've put the interior onto the pegs there, so it stays the thing, and the glass. Nothing really much to say about it. So let's stick it together, and then we can see what's what with it. So One of the things I've started doing with the when I cut the mushrooms off is to try and leave a little bit on so that I don't have to always glue. I can put, get a friction fit on and then glue later if I want. But yeah, there we go. Altogether, the Trabant 601. Like I said, this particular model represents one that was produced in the sort of late 60s, early 70s type. I actually gave it some indicators, and you can see there. You probably can't because of the light. Let me see if I can. There we go. There we go. I actually gave it some indicators, and there we are. But yeah, what I've done is I painted it up in. I looked at pictures of a few sort of like period correct Trabants, and this sort of like brown colour was one of the more popular. They did do the light green like it was originally, but I just did not like that colour at all. So I've done it in this sort of dark, this sort of lightish brown colour, and then if I just darn that off again, we can see around here I've put some accumulated dirt and a bit of rust and everything like that. I like to think that this one is somebody that's bought an old, basically bought a Trabant for basically next to nothing, and they're trying to do it up, but the odds are against them, being as that Trabant parts are quite difficult to come hold of, because like I say, most Trabants these days have either been really well looked after, and the collectors or the people that own them look after them, and or they've been modified to have bigger engines and stuff like that instead of the crappy two-stroke engine that's in them, and or they're just rust buckets that have been just left to rot, or pulled, scrapped and everything like that. So yeah, I did the interior. I put some. I coloured the seats inside blue. I don't know. You might be able to see there if I just do this. Put my hand over the top of the camera to cut down the light. I put the interior so the person whose Trabby this is has they got some new tire, wheels and tires on it, something a bit more modern, and they bought the seat covers, and that's as far as they've got. They haven't even bothered, taking it down the car wash because it's still a bit grubby. God damn, the fucking light is terrible. Yeah, it's still a bit grubby. It's very much a work in progress. So yeah, the Trabby holds such an iconic kind of status in in kind of the old East Germany and even in West Germany. It holds such an iconic status there, and in parts of Eastern Europe, because the Trabby was exported to the countries, and even though in Russia they had their own car manufacturers, VAZ and stuff like that, you still get Trabbies occasionally turn up in Russia because people bought them, and it's because of its iconic kind of state. It's even developed its own kind of culture, including jokes about the Trabant. For example, one joke is, how do you double the value of a Trabant? You put petrol in it. Or, what's the longest car in the world? The Trabant, because it's 2 meters of car and 12 meters of smoke. That's referring to obviously the two-stroke engine, which burns oil as well as petrol. So one of the features of the Trabant was that whenever you drove it, there would be a long plume of black smoke come out the back because of the burning oil. What was the other one I saw? What's the best feature on a Trabant? It's got a rear mounted heater. That way your hands don't get cold when you're pushing it. Yeah. But yeah, there we go. I will take some better close-up pictures, and they will feature at the end. But yep, this has been the VEB Trabant 601, possibly the deluxe model, being as I've put indicators on it, and will be the pictures will come in a second. But thank you for watching, and like I say, if you want to see more stuff, feel free to subscribe, you know, like, comment, all that good stuff. And if you feel particularly generous, feel free to make a donation to the channel via my PayPal link. And all contributions are, you know, received with thanks and will be put to good use. And you know, hopefully we'll be back next time with another car. I don't know what decided yet. I never do decide. I just kind of make these things up as I go along. So yeah, thanks for watching. Pictures to follow.